from Mr. Morton's Barmy Book of Bonkers Bits.
Hello there and welcome to Mr. Morton's Barmy Book of Bonkers Bits. I am Mr. Morton. So good to have you here. Say, have you ever heard the story about the koala who couldn't cling? No? Well, you see, of all the things a koala ought to be good at, clinging is near the top. Sleep? Yes. Munching leaves? Yeah, certainly. Looking fluffy and slightly baffled all day long. But cling? Absolutely. This is proper koala business. Only Kevin the koala couldn't do it. I mean, he could leap at a tree, and he could grab a tree. He could even wrap all four paws around a tree and squeeze it with every bit of fuzzy determination in his body. But staying there, not a chance. He slid every single time. He slid down gum trees. He slid down iron barks. Once, he tried a sign that said, "Please do not feed the wildlife." But the sign was so smooth and no use to anybody that he slid off that as well. Above him, Kylie Kookaburra laughed so hard she nearly dropped her worm. "Bit slippery today, Kev." Kevin glared at her. "I'm not slippery," he said. "I'm just having a difficult bark day." By sunset, Kevin was dusty, annoyed, and covered in bits of eucalyptus. All around him, other koalas sat in trees exactly where they were supposed to be. High up, half asleep, clinging like experts. Kevin looked up and sighed. "One branch," he muttered. "That's all I want. One decent branch and a little bit of dignity." Suddenly, something zipped through the tree above his head. Then another. Then three more. Kevin looked up. Sugar gliders. They shot from the branches so quickly, Kevin nearly lost sight of them. One sailed straight past his nose, and another one looped round a trunk. One landed upside down just to show off, and they all lined up on a branch and stared down at him. Kevin stared back. "Oi!" he called out. "How do you do that?" One of the gliders scratched his ear. "Do what?" "That," cried Kevin. "That's swooping. That's sticking. That not falling off bit." The glider shrugged. "I don't know, mate. I'm just a sugar glider. It's what I do." Another nodded. "Yeah, ask a wombat how he wombats." A third one launched himself off the branch, sailed clean across to the next tree, and landed like he'd done it 1,000 times. Kevin's eyes widened. "So," he said, "you're sugar gliders." "Yeah, that's what we've been saying." Kevin looked down at the eucalyptus leaf in his paw, then back up at the gliders, then down at the leaf again. The gliders zipped off into the evening. "See ya, mate. Try not to fall over anything. Mind the owl." But Kevin wasn't listening now, because eucalyptus leaves were many things. Leafy, chewy, a little bit whiffy if you're honest, but sugary, nope, not one bit. Kevin stared at the leaf, then he stared at the trees, then his face changed as a thought came to him. "Sugar," he whispered. Of course, that was it. That had to be it. He wasn't bad at clinging. He wasn't useless. He wasn't even built wrong. He was simply missing sugar. Kevin threw down the leaf. "Right," he said. "Time to get me some sugar." The picnic ground near the ranger station was just settling down for the evening. There were folded chairs, there were paper plates, and there were children still thundering about in shoes too fast for their bodies. But best of all, there was sugar. A crust of fairy bread, half a lamington, a sticky bun someone had left beside the esky, a dribble of raspberry cordial down the leg of a trestle table. Kevin's eyes went round. "This," he whispered, "is excellent." He began with the fairy bread. And then the lamington. After that, he moved on to the cordial, licking the leg of the table, and then another because the table leg was so long. By the time he'd finished, his paws were sticky, his whiskers were trembling, and his ears felt as if it was trying to tune into the moon. Kevin took a deep breath. "Right," he said. "Now we climb." He ran at the nearest tree, leapt, grabbed the trunk, and slid down faster than ever. He hit the ground with a thump. Then there was a pause. Then his tummy went, "Glurp." Kevin froze. Then his tummy went, "Glurp, blurble, blop." Kevin put both paws on his belly. "Oh no," he said. The tummy answered with a long, bubbling wobble that sounded like a frog trapped in a teapot. Kevin's eyes widened. "Crikey," he whispered. "My insides are having a meeting." He began to waddle across the picnic ground in the tense, careful way of someone who's made a terrible mistake and is now hearing about it from the lower half of himself. Near the bins sat Wally the Wombat. Kevin stopped in front of him. "Wally?" "I've got a poorly tummy." Wally looked him over. Kevin was a mess. Fairy bread on his shoulder, jam on his chin, a bit of sticky bun on his foot. "Yep, I reckon I can see that," said Wally. "What'd you do?" "Ate some sugar." "How much sugar?" Kevin thought about lying, and then decided against it. Quite a lot." "Yep, that'll do it." "What helps?" Well," Wally chewed, "mint." "Mint?" "Yep, mint. Settles things." "Beauty. Where do I get mint?" Wally lifted one stubby paw and pointed across the clearing. Under a big striped shelter, a birthday party was packing up. There were balloons bobbing about and bowls of lollies, and in the middle of the table sat a shiny bowl piled high with peppermints, and beside it, a giant glass dispenser of fizzy mint lemonade with lemon slices floating in it like they knew they were fancy. Kevin gasped. "Oh, medicine." And off he went. A little boy in a paper crown spotted Kevin first. "Mom, koala!" Kevin gave him a quick nod, and then grabbed 3 peppermints from the bowl and stuffed them into his mouth. "Oi! He's pinching me mints!" Kevin chewed and felt the cool, sharp, promising taste of the peppermints. And then he plunged both paws under the drink dispenser tap and gulped fizzy mint lemonade straight from the spout. 1 slurp, 2 slurps, 3. A dad by the Eskies lowered his sausages. "Crikey," he said, "he's on the lemonade." "It's medicinal," he said. But then his stomach made a noise like a trombone falling down the stairs. Kevin froze. His cheeks puffed. His eyes bulged. Then, burp. It wasn't a huge burp. Not yet. But it was fizzy and strange. And when he burped, it lifted him half an inch off the ground. Burp! This time, he rose a little bit higher. Not much, but just enough for his toes to leave the grass. Wally the Wombat had wandered over now. That's new." Kevin clutched his tummy. "I think I've over-medicated." And then his stomach lurched again. Kevin spun around, trying to get out of the way of everyone and everything at once. And instead, he ran straight into the dessert table. A bowl of strawberry jelly flipped through the air and landed on his head with a wet splat. A bottle of golden syrup rolled off the edge, bounced once, and emptied itself down his back. And a tumbler of fairy floss collapsed over one ear, sprinkles flowing everywhere. And Kevin slithered and skidded and windmilled and collected half a pavlova straight in the face. But when he finally stopped moving, he was standing in the middle of a wreckage looking as if he had been mugged by a lolly shop. Well, Kevin tried to apologize. He was terribly embarrassed. But instead, all that came out was burp. Up he went, 3 feet this time, and then back down. Kevin's tummy bubbled again, and he suddenly looked alarmed. "Stand back," said Wally. Kevin puffed out like a balloon, and then came the biggest burp anyone in the bush had ever heard. Burp! Every bubble of fizzy lemonade, every peppermint, every last bit of pressure in Kevin's belly joined in at once. And this time, Kevin did not bob. Kevin blasted. Straight up. Kevin was already halfway up to the treetops. He shot himself through the evening air like a small, sticky, sparkling rocket and headed straight for the tallest eucalyptus in the whole reserve. And then suddenly, he hit the trunk with a mighty splat. And he stuck. Not slid, not wobbled, but stuck. The syrup grabbed the bark, and the jelly sealed the gaps. The fairy floss wound round a knot and it held fast. Kevin blinked. He looked at his paws. Still stuck. He looked at the bark. Still stuck. He looked down at everyone staring at him from far below, and then his face split into the biggest grin of his life. I'm clinging! Ranger Bev, who had heard all the noise and came out, looked up and said, Kev, you right up there? Never better! You want to come down? Down? He said. Are you mad? And he stayed. Kevin might have looked ridiculous with all the stuff sticking to him, but he didn't care one bit. He was still there, up the tree, clinging, delighted. And that's where Kevin stayed. Up the tree, where he always belonged. And that's the story about the koala who couldn't cling. I hope you like that story. Now, take a breath, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Good, that was a lot. And I mean that as a compliment to both of us. So listen, while your brain catches up with what just happened, why don't you press follow or subscribe? The next story is already on the shelf, spine out, waiting. So tell a friend and visit mrmortonsbalmybook.com and come back whenever you're ready. The door's always open. I've been Mr. Morton, and you've been listening. Bye!
Thanks for joining Mr. Morton in his brilliantly barmy bonkers book. Spread the word to your wonderfully wacky friends. Subscribe for more silly stories. And remember, the world needs more magnificent madness!